did is told my he want receipts. Let's start with your mother. Your mother got the receipts. Everything is in your mother's name. That's the one who got the receipts.
And in order to get that, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music or EMI or Sony ever in public.
Y'all, so it looks like Mama Combs is desperate to have her son back at home at all costs. Sources are claiming that Janice has been pulling out all the stops and pulling all types of tricks in the book to get Diddy home. Now there are rumors that she allegedly tried to bribe some federal officers to make the case against Diddy magically disappear. And there have been reports for a long time. And not only was Janice aware of Diddy's activities, but she allegedly took part in a lot of them. This is why she is desperate. For the case to remain under wraps, she knows that something nasty is about to come out about her too. So what exactly is Janice hiding? And did she really help Diddy get girls for his freak-offs? Let's break it down now before we get into what the feds are saying about Janice. Y'all need to know that she was a single mother who pretty much had to raise Diddy and his sister Kesha on her own after their dad passed away when Diddy was only 3. She moved out of Harlem to Mount Vernon because she didn't want Diddy turned into the same kind of debauchery that his father lived. But that turned out to be a waste of time because just take it. Look at how Diddy turned out. But anyways, to give Janice her due credit, she worked multiple jobs to send her kids to private school. And she even lied to Diddy about what his father was like because she didn't want him to go down that same path. Well, Diddy spoke about this in an interview and said she tried to protect me. My father was a hustler who sold during this time. That was the way out of Harlem, either that or playing basketball. He said my mother didn't want me to follow in his footsteps, so she was selective about which truth. She told me my father was in the army and he owned a limousine service, and he died in a car accident. Actually, he was shot in the car. But even as a kid, I put 2 and 2 together. I noticed that guys from the streets in Harlem always seemed to know my family's last name. I used to run with your father. They tell me all my uncles were street hustlers as well. But even with all this, there were reports that Janice wasn't exactly walking on the legal side of the law either. If you know what I mean, there are rumors that she allegedly worked as something of a madam for powerful people, bringing girls to parties thrown by rich and powerful men in New York. The same kind of parties that Diddy allegedly throws now. And it's kind of wild how everything came full circle. But anyways, even before Diddy got exposed, there were reports that he was up to some shady stuff that his mom knew about and protected him from now. And who used to be signed to Bad Boy Records was one of the first people to hint at this. But he was probably too scared of Diddy to come out and say it straight up.
Yo, I did is told my he want receipts. Let's start with your mother. Your mother got the receipts. Everything is in your mother's name. That's the one who got the receipts.
Y'all, the plot is thickening. Not only did Ma say that, but there are fresh reports that Janice is supposedly in the mix so deep that Diddy ordered his artists to zip their lips about her too. Remember when he made a big deal out of returning his artist master and making them sign NDAs? Well, according to a UOD, one of the major parts of the NDA which she refused to sign is that they are not allowed to talk about Janice either.
And in order to get that, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music or EMI or Sony ever in public.
So bad that she needed an NDA, one can only wonder. But one thing that we know for sure is that she has pulled several stunts in the past to help Diddy get out of trouble, even going as far as to allegedly fake a health scare to keep Diddy out of jail. Right when the feds started closing in on Diddy and raided him earlier in the year, Janice had a health emergency, and not just any emergency one, where Diddy just happened to be the one person that she absolutely needed by her side, and it Sounded like more of a well-timed cover-up than a real emergency if you ask people. It's almost like they needed a distraction from whatever heat was coming his way. And of course, Janice's doctors came out of nowhere with this story about how critical it is for Diddy to be there with her. And for her well, TMZ reported that Janice Combs was rushed to the hospital on Wednesday after she complained about discomfort in her chest, according to sources close to Diddy. It's still unclear exactly what caused the pain, but we're told she's going to remain in the hospital for at least another day. Our sources said that Diddy was in Miami at the time, and at his mom's request went to the hospital to be by her side. We're told Janice believes the pain is related to stress over her son's legal woes, including the federal investigation and multiple civil lawsuits. She has been seen spending time with him in Miami in the months since the federal raids on his homes for several weeks. Diddy circled the wagons and really only spend time with family members like Janice and his kids. We're told doctors are keeping her hospitalized another night for further testing and observation, and Diddy is still there with her as the source. Put it, he's her comfort in this now, given that everything has come out about Diddy. You'd expect Janice to be quiet, right? I mean, sure, he's her son, and we all know she's going to stick beside them through thick or thin. But Mama Combs is out here defending her son and dragging the feds for setting up her precious baby boy, claiming that they're trying to take a successful black man down well. She then released a long statement that via Diddy's lawyers that said, "I come to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged for not the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies to bear witness what seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put into words like every human being my son deserves to have his day in court to finally share his side and to prove his innocence." She continued, "I am not here to portray my son as perfect, because he's not. He has made mistakes in the past, as we all have. My son may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying he has ever gotten violent with an ex-girlfriend when the hotel surveillance showed otherwise. Sometimes the truth and the lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of the story, especially when that truth is outside the norm or is too complicated to be believed. This is why I believe my son's civil legal team opted to settle the ex-girlfriend's lawsuit instead of contesting it until the end, resulting in a ricochet effect, as the federal government used this decision against my son by interpreting it as an admission of guilt. Y'all, Janice is over here, gaslighting strung up. Yeah, she's really out here trying to spin the narrative like we all forgot that there are literal video receipts of Diddy putting hands on Cassie, not to mention Diddy himself admitted it. He tried to clean it up by saying he was disgusted with who he was back then. But hey, an admission is an admission, and anything you can say or will do it can be used in the court of law. But the fact that he settled the lawsuit after just one day, if that's not a dimension of Yelton itself, I don't know what is. You don't just settle like that unless you're trying to make something disappear quickly. But Janice is out here playing defense like we can't connect the dots. She's acting like the settlement was just a business move, when the reality is that Diddy was trying to shut things down before more dirt hit the fan. The statement continued, "It is important to recognize that none of us, regardless of our status, are immune to fear or mistakes. Not being entirely straightforward about one issue does not mean my son is guilty of the repulsive allegations and the grave charges leveled against him. Many individuals who were wrongfully convicted and later exonerated had their freedom taken from them, not because they were guilty of the crimes they were accused of, but because they didn't fit into the image that the society considers to be a good person. History has showed us how individuals can be wrongfully convicted due to their past actions or mistakes." The statement also said, "Watching the world make jokes and laugh at my son's crumbling before our eyes is something I can never forget. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies and misconceptions without ever hearing his side or affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain and not justice. These individuals saw how quickly my son's civil legal team settled his ex-girlfriend's lawsuit